The secret to launching any product is
Hello everybody, I'm Jared.
Hi, I'm Melinda.
And welcome back to The Secret Life of Inventory. This is a show where we dive deep into the hidden mysteries of inventory management, revealing ways for you to optimize your workflow and succeed.
Today we're joined by a special guest, Matt, who's the head of business development here at inFlow Inventory. He's been at inFlow for over a decade and helping to design, source, and launch all of our hardware. This includes everything from our signature smart scanner, ergonomic hand grips, charging dock, and even our brand new portable printer that has now officially launched.
Yep, and Matt has been the driving force. He's a key figure in all of our hardware things. So we're going to be going into a lot of detail today about, what it's like working with manufacturers, how you go from an idea to an actual product that people can actually use. And then we're going to end off the episode talking about some real world things like the US tariffs, for example, and how those are affecting the market.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So we're excited to have you here, Matt.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. It only took up into episode 14 to get me on here. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to rock this one.
So to kick things off, can you give everyone a quick intro about you and how did you get into the world of hardware?
Yeah, so basically I started my first kind of, real job in pharma. And it was interesting because it was a really small pharmaceutical company that basically had the CEO, and I worked directly with him, and he was sourcing products from Europe and bringing them over to Canada. And the interesting part of that was he needed more bodies in the room. So he basically just brought me along to be involved with these negotiations of bringing products in.
I flew you to Europe?
I got to go to Europe, and we would sit in these boardrooms of these multi-million-dollar companies, and he'd be negotiating, and I'd literally just be kind of a placeholder to make his company look bigger.
You're a part of the entourage,
I was his entourage, more or less, right? So but I learned a lot, and the main takeaway from that was like, wow, like he can kind of come in and negotiate and get these, and he was successful at it. He was bringing products into Canada, and obviously pharmaceuticals have a lot of red tape, but he was able to bring them in and successfully sell them, and that kind of sparked the idea of like, hey, could I do something like that, right? In terms of career path, I was in marketing for that pharma company, and I did notice that there's a lot of red tape in pharma.
What does red tape mean? Can I ask?
Yeah, so red tape is just more like you can't do certain things.
Oh, okay.
So your creativity is limited by, obviously
like rules?
There's rules and regulations. But also there was some new stuff that passed where like it got even more intense, where like you couldn't even, you had to submit any marketing material to a third party to make sure it was okay to market in Canada. So great, I appreciate that, but in terms of a creative person, I'm like, this is kind of frustrating.
Very limiting, I'd say, yeah.
So that's where Archon kind of came to be. Like I was always curious about the startup world, and joined Archon initially in the marketing space. So I also did, marketing back then, we were under like 10 people. So it was like, all right, you're marketing, but marketing is also design, websites, SEO, everything under the sun. So I actually did do some early design with the Archon websites and stuff too, which our designers would probably cringe.
I guess we should clarify that inFlow is under Archon. So Archon is like, since we never talked about it.
That's true, yeah.
We just said, welcome to inFlow Inventory, but inFlow Inventory is under Archon Systems.
Yeah. That's a good point there. So, so basically, was working in various roles with inFlow, and essentially something that would come up quite often was like, okay, I'm doing inventory, but then how do I actually make a system? Like, how does my barcode scanner connect to this and that? And a lot of customers would ask for recommendations on barcode scanners. And even before that, we actually wrote a book. So we wrote a book called Barcode Your Small Business, and funny enough, it actually became like a top 10 book on Amazon in the productions and operations category. Oh, wow. So I can now say I'm a best-selling author as well too, in that very niche of a niche category.
I'm pretty sure I used that book to write episode 3 of our podcast too, the barcoding episode.
Oh yeah, I've read the book as well. The Ultimate Barcoding Guide, heavily influenced for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, cool. So with that, like the book, a lot of people are downloading the book, and I guess instead of just recommending random third-party barcode scanners, which we would test the best as we can, we started thinking about, well, hey, can we not also provide a solution where we know 110% they work with inFlow,
Yeah.
and they'll be the best kind of, best price, best kind of specs, and then we can kind of make that an offering to customers and just know that they're getting the best experience. So that's where the idea of hardware kind of came to be with inFlow.
Was there any like specific moment that like it triggered, like now is the time that we should launch this hardware, or was it kind of like it happened gradually over time and seeing the demand there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think after the book, that's when it kind of, it was like, hey, this book is taking off. People are really interested in it. And just with all the requests of like recommendations, like which scanners should we offer? It kind of came like naturally that way. I was also working and sourcing my own products at the time as well. So when I was like, hey, there's an opportunity here to sell more products, let's do it, right? Like, let's figure it out. Let's make it happen.
Very cool. So you mentioned that, obviously you have a lot of things that you've worked on outside of inFlow, making these products. So is there any kind of like, how do you come up with the ideas for a new product? Is there anything like process that you go through? Are you focusing on like a pain point, or is it more like, what's needed in the market, kind of like niches?
Yeah, so there's many ways that you can accomplish that, or figuring out which products to sell. The traditional way is actually doing a lot of keyword research. So just seeing, there's specific tools, for example, even for like Amazon, like Helium-10 or Jungle Scout, they'll kind of tell you the volumes of frequencies of how often keywords are searched, similar to like the SEO style, like when we're writing blog posts or articles, which keywords get the most searches, and then maybe we make that article towards that. With these other software tools, not only can you see the keyword volume, but you can also see the competition. So if you can find a niche that's like, high search volume, less competition, maybe it's something you want to dive into. And I'd say this is probably how 60-70% of new sellers get started in e-commerce.
Wow.
But
You see what's popular?
it's the default way that a lot of the gurus, I guess,
Yeah.
teach on how to find a niche and how to make a product. But for me, I don't like doing that, because you're also then, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people doing the same thing, discovering the same niches.
Right.
So for me, a lot of it is like, what's a pain point in my life, and can I solve something for it? So just for example, I was traveling for work, and my mom, she knows. There's a whole other story of her, and like she's never been on an airplane, so for her it's very foreign. But she got me a gift for my birthday or something. It was like a luggage tag, and it was a cute luggage tag, but it was also like an M&M candy one, and it was kind of like super not business friendly travel kind of luggage tag, right? So then I was like, this is cool, but I'm not going to put it on my luggage when I'm traveling with, I probably could have, it would have been fine, but I was like, okay, let's, so that got me thinking, like, hey, can I is there a luggage tag that's like professional, that still stands out and doesn't cost an arm and a leg, right? And then that's when the idea came, just to make a metal luggage tag, and, found the manufacturer, kind of getting ahead of myself, but I found some to make it. And lo and behold, there was thousands of other people like myself that wanted that kind of product as well. So in my opinion, the best way to figure out a product to source is, scratch an itch that you have,
Yeah.
and then find the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other people that have that same itch.
Right.
And then it's a lot easier to market. Now I say that, but I also know a ton of examples of, like, there's one gentleman, he makes cat litter boxes, like really fancy cat litter boxes. They look like mahogany wood and all that fancy stuff. He doesn't own a cat.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Interesting.
So it doesn't always have to be personal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't so I mean, obviously it can go both ways, but personally, I think, the best, and also I love traveling, that sort of thing. So like, picking a niche, sourcing stuff that you would actually use and you love, I think goes a long way.
Yeah, you probably
Right.
enjoy it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're less likely to get bored of it as well too, right?
So once you have that idea in your mind, and something that itch you want to scratch, would you go in then do the market research, like do the keyword research and be like, oh, there actually is
Yeah, you definitely want to validate it as well too.
Yeah.
'Cause just because you have like this crazy idea, like it could literally be the idea of one, like you're the only person in the world that thought of it. So yeah, you do your due diligence on it as well too, with the keyword research behind it. That always helps. But I always like to start from the place of scratching that itch, figuring out that pain point,
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
moving forward with it.
So going back to our inFlow hardware, what were the early days like developing those first few products?
Yeah, so the first product we ever sold was like a simple, actually it's one of these guys here. It's a simple USB scanner. And what I like to also think about is how to not just be another Me Too product. So how to do something, how to differentiate it. But the key is differentiating it in a way that matters, right? So a lot of other product creators, they'll create products, they'll make a slight variation of an existing thing, but it turns out people actually don't care, right?
Right.
So in our case with these barcode scanners, it was thinking about how could we make them different? I mean, at the end of the day, it is just a USB barcode scanner,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing crazy about it. But we did think of a way to differentiate by actually introducing them in different colors. So we actually had like 6 different colors of these guys. They
For
were
the
like,
aesthetic.
yeah, just for the aesthetic.
Branding,
Yeah, and then we also named them kind of interesting. One of the jokes we had for, actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but we named them all. So for example, here on the side, I don't know if we can see it, but it says like cobalt. Sorry, I didn't know
I would never explain.
They're very rugged, those
Drop
smart
tested.
scanners. Yeah, they're drop tested. They're good to go.
So just for example, like this one was cobalt blue, right? So we had fun with the names, and we also have a developer named Sunny. So we had a yellow one, and we named it Sunny Yellow. And we had some fun. We were like surveying our customers, like which color do you like best, that sort of thing. And I think Sunny Yellow won actually.
Oh.
But in any case, yeah, they were pretty successful when we were selling them, and yeah, like that's how it basically started.
So, what sort of like impact does customer feedback have on the whole process?
Yeah, so for customer, I mean, obviously you got to be making something that matters, right? So we did do a lot of precursor feedback. So beyond just aesthetics, some people were saying with the different colors, then they knew like the back office one would be red, the front office would be green, like so they could differentiate like who has what, that sort of thing. I mean, it was a small thing, but something else that they had talked about. Something else that I got into as well too is doing Kickstarters. And Kickstarter is fun because you're literally building the product in front of the audience and kind of like working it as you go.
Mm-hmm. And I guess you get to see that demand in real time, right? If it's getting attention, you're getting those funding, you know that there's a demand for it, right?
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of time with the demand part too, you almost want to have the demand there before you even make the product or go into production.
Yeah.
So with Kickstarter, and you want to have a runway where basically you develop an email list, you have a group of people that are actually interested in the thing long before you actually launch it. And that's also a mistake I think people make as well too, is they just go in like, hey, I'm going to develop this thing, I'm going to put it out there and hope people will come and buy it.
But they don't have a plan.
Typically doesn't happen that way, unfortunately.
So what were some of the biggest obstacles that you faced while you're working on developing hardware at inFlow?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of
The biggest,
there's
at the
a lot of
top.
obstacles. Yeah, I mean, so we're sourcing them from China, so time zones are always an issue. The language, that sort of thing. Being able to communicate exactly what you want can be a bit of a hurdle as well, but I mean, it comes with the territory. Like with any of these projects, there's always things that you have to kind of balance and juggle with it.
How did you initially decide between local or going overseas for your manufacturers?
In this case, I mean, pretty much you don't have a choice for a lot of categories, right? So like for electronics, it's typically overseas is your default. In terms of pricing and costing, yeah, you really can't beat overseas for at least what we're making. Obviously now there's a lot of talk and interest about sourcing from other countries and that sort of thing. But pretty much you're like, if it's electronics or, it depends on the category, but pretty much your options are limited when it
Makes
comes to
sense.
manufacturing.
And then you mentioned how there was like a language barrier dealing with like different time zones and cultures. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So my
Google
advice,
Translator.
well, luckily we also have some devs that speak
Okay.
as well too. So we actually had some help with that with the printers. But The number one thing is don't rely on email. So email's too slow, right? And with the time zones, it takes, you don't want to wait a day for each response.
Yeah.
So I'm always adding suppliers on WeChat, WhatsApp. You want to have that live chat going. That's also a way, and we'll talk about it probably later, but that's a way of choosing which supplier to work with is also just how they communicate, like making sure they understand what you want. Like I'd almost rather pay a little bit more knowing that I can communicate really well with them.
Yeah.
Than someone
That's
who's just the
true,
cheapest.
Because if you text someone, you get an instant response instead of like not many people check their emails all the time too.
And then you get, so then a lot of times like in email they'll just be like yes everything's good, yes. Whereas when you're in live chat and you're just talking, you get a feeling if they're actually understanding what you're asking.
You can do the voice notes too.
Yeah, you can do the voice notes, and sometimes I have used Google. We're laughing about Google Translate, but there's some times where I'd literally do that. Like I'd put it in Mandarin and then get it to translate, and then they get it right.
Yeah.
And then it's a lot easier. I've done voice sometimes. Even with our suppliers here, we would do voice calls, right? So interestingly enough, like sometimes just different mediums of communicating will help. But definitely do the live chat. I feel like that overcomes that. And then in terms of time zones, like typically I'll just do another shift at night to match their time zone. Because especially early on in the relationship, like you can't expect them to match yours. And it is a relationship.
No, for sure,
it is a relationship for sure. But I'll always kind of be the one to working those later nights, 9, 10 p.m. or so when they're just getting up, so that the communication flows much faster.
So if you're going to walk us through like the typical timeline between like a prototype being like released to actually like production and you get that thing in your hand, how what would that look like?
It's a good question. The answer is it depends, right? It depends on the product. So for example, I did a Kickstarter for like a COVID product where it was like a door handle opener type thing where you didn't have to use your hands to open doors. That one I had to produce it ASAP, right?
Yeah.
So that one was like in 30 days or so, more or less, got it out the door. That's probably not so typical. With the regular barcode scanners, like USB scanners, a lot of it is just like the design of the packaging, putting the logo on it, that sort of thing. Like the product's already made. So maybe a couple months for those. For the printers, for example, those ones took quite some time.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey for the printers, because so basically the more complicated the product is, the more stuff you have to deal with. And I don't think I anticipated just how complicated it was to work on the printer firmware, the driver, and then the Wi-Fi setup. Like it's 3 different software aspects of it, plus the settings and plus everything else that came with that. So that one, I think it's been over a year at least, if not more, in development for.
Right. So the smart scanner did not take nearly as long as that, I assume.
Then?
That's a good question. Yeah. So the smart scanner, I mean, the first one, it probably took a little bit longer just because we had to do a lot of testing with Android, but we weren't customizing Android, right? We were customizing our own app to work really well with the smart scanner.
Right.
So probably took a little bit longer for like, say, the smart scanner 1, but then the subsequent releases, the 2, the 3, less because like we already had the platform established.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense. So as you work with manufacturers, does that relationship change over time as you start to scale up production?
Yeah, and it's definitely a relationship. Like some of the suppliers I've worked with my own products, I've known them for like almost 10 years as well now. So they send like Christmas cards, they send gifts to the kids.
It's like family now.
It's a family now, yeah. And I mean, to me, that's the kind of relationship you want because you build that loyalty. And what ends up happening too, like if you need a favor or if you need, I'm just thinking about some stories of where she's been able to help, the supplier's been able to help me out in a pinch. But also, if you need someone else or you need a different supplier for a different material, they're able to do referrals for you. And
Connections. Yeah.
Connections. Oh, yeah. It's all about the connections. She can, like the supplier I work with now, I just say, hey, I need X, Y, Z. And she can, like, in a blink, she'll go there to their office. She'll be, I have this amazing client in Canada and take care of me. Absolutely that you want to build that relationship. But, and I've also heard from others as well, like when you have that relationship, sometimes the they can become complacent in the quality, right? So what a lot of good rule of thumb is to always do third-party kind of checks and balances on the products that you're producing and just make sure that the quality is not decreasing over time as well. But my style is build that relationship so good that like they're not going to want to like do anything, or they want to take care of you and they want to be in it for the long term. And you'll find most suppliers are like that. They want that relationship and they want that long-term connection with
Consistent business for them too, right? Like if they
100%.
maintain that
exactly.
relationship.
Yeah.
And the more, at the end of the day, the more like I grow and Archon grow, or inFlow grows, the more they grow their business too.
Yeah.
So it's always a two-way relationship.
So something I wanted to actually touch on, because I'm looking at these amazing packages here, is something that often gets overlooked is like a product's packaging.
Yep.
It's the first experience that your customers are going to have with that product. And I was wondering, like, how do you make an impact with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I love the idea of surprise and delight, right? So do stuff that's unexpected, because that's what gets people kind of like emotionally charged and more likely to write a good review and do all the things that you
Post
want
on
them
Instagram.
to do.
It's like,
Post on Instagram, do an unboxing.
Unboxing video. There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. And you're right. Like I feel like most products don't have that experience, right? Obviously, Apple has that experience.
Yes.
The boxes are so sturdy.
Yeah,
you
they're
can
the
use
most
them.
well known. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely, everything feels so good and quality.
ripping off that
Yeah.
plastic.
Yeah.
So satisfying.
So satisfying.
Like
yeah.
no one throws those out, right? I
Yeah.
think even at the office we had like probably 20 of those
Yeah.
boxes because they're just too good to like.
Yeah.
I have one in my closet too.
Yeah, like I need to figure out something out for this box. It needs to live on,
And that was some of the inspiration for the first line of scanners as well too. Like this is a solid box. Like you could almost build a house as a brick with this, right? It's a really, really good box.
Just as rugged as the scanner.
Right, if not more so, who knows? And then another good example of that, I had another product, and this worked really, really well, where it was a mosquito repellent bracelet. So a very simple product. It was advertised as people getting the 5-pack, but when the product actually shipped, they all had a 6-pack in it. So, and then on the packaging, literally on the packaging, it said, "Surprise, you got the 6-pack." And then to take that one step further, I wrote a little note that was like, "Hey, if you happen to leave a review, don't tell anybody about our little secret." And that caused them psychologically to be like, "Oh, I got to write a review about this," right? And they were obviously very happy that they got an extra piece for
Right.
free. So there's fun stuff that you can do in that department that I feel like not a lot of people, not a lot
No,
of
that's
sellers
clever.
are doing.
So did everyone get the 6th one and you made them
Everyone
feel
thinks
special to
they're
say
the
that?
chosen one.
Oh, that's
Everyone got it.
brilliant. That's
That
brilliant.
is.
That's
Because the
brilliant.
cost of the extra band was negligible, like
Right.
literally nothing.
Yeah.
And so all the packages that went out were actually a 6-pack with, and it's kind of funny too because I superimposed, like it said 5-pack, and then I put like red all over it, like so as if someone markered over the packaging. Not 5, it's 6, and here's the surprise, you got the 6-pack, like right on the packaging. So
Yeah.
obviously it was pre-planned, but hey, customers ate it up.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
would
idea.
too.
Yeah, you make them feel special right from the
Yeah.
get.
And we do the same idea now for all of our hardware at inFlow as well. So we want to make sure that now we've condensed the packaging quite a bit as well, just to make it easier to ship, a little bit more eco-friendly. And but we do take a great deal. I mean, you guys know with inFlow we take a great detail to care to make sure that the experience is great inside the software, and we also want to make sure that our hardware follows suit as well too. So you'll see this is our latest and greatest packaging for the Smart Scanner 3, and we also have some other examples of prior packaging too.
So right now for our inFlow shop, we have the signature smart scanner, accessories, and you also mentioned the inFlow portable printer that we recently launched. So what has that journey been like to bring it to life?
Yeah, so the portable printer has been quite the journey for starters. No, it's been great. I mean, we got the idea just from feedback from our customers as well. Actually, I think what initiated the idea too was a competitor. I guess now they're a competitor. But Dymo, most of the time we would just recommend Dymo label printers. And Dymo did something where they made their labels proprietary, where there was an actual chip inside the rolls. So the Dymo printer would not print any other labels except for Dymo rolls.
So you have to buy
You have to buy Dymo label rolls. And then obviously their labels are more expensive. And people were just furious about this. This was like such an uproar in the community because it's like, why are you DRMing labels? Like it's kind of a ridiculous thing. So that was one aspect of it. But then also the thought process is, hey, we have the scanners. Let's give people the complete solution. So yeah, that's when we went on the journey to figure out how to make make a printer for our customer base.
It must have been complicated because you talked about like 3 different softwares that you had to build, like the Wi-Fi, the hard drive, and
Yeah, so it was yeah, there was a bunch of aspects of the
Yeah.
printer that we had to kind of look at, which I wasn't really anticipating. I mean, you think like, hey, it's a printer, let's just make it happen, right? But with this printer, it didn't even have at the time. I think it was USB-A, if I'm not mistaken, is the right. So we wanted to change that to USB-C. So that took a little bit of effort to make that happen. Most label printers are 200 DPI dots per inch. We wanted to make it the highest, so it's at 300. So we had to make those changes. But hardware changes are one thing. And then obviously you're getting samples back and forth, and it takes, a week to 2 weeks to get the sample. So that takes a lot of time. But I think the biggest challenge with the printer was the software side. So just making sure that the driver actually works with all PCs, and not just the driver to install the printer, but then because it's Wi-Fi, it's also, we have to build a utility so that you can actually connect it to your Wi-Fi network. So that's another layer of software on top. So you have the driver, then you have the Wi-Fi connection tool, and then on top of that, the printer itself runs its own firmware.
that's a lot of
So the firmware has to be set up to make sure that it's like easy to use as well too, and we customize the firmware to make it super super easy as well. So it's like all of those layers on top.
Yeah.
And then when we were dealing with, this is where a language barrier came in, because the developers on the software side and the firmware didn't speak a lick of English. So we had to work that out as well, and we had a few meetings where we actually had our dev team who could speak Mandarin with them and be able to actually solve those issues that came up.
yeah.
So when you developed the smart scanner, obviously you had an idea of how this process was going to go. Was there anything that kind of caught you off guard going from the smart scanner then to the printer?
Yeah, definitely the software aspect of it. Yeah, by far.
Sounds like it, yeah.
I wasn't expecting, I wasn't, because, well, also our devs make software look like it's quote unquote easy, right? Like one line of code, like, hey, we got to change something. Oh, the developers are on that, and it's good to go.
Right.
But yeah, it gets a lot more complicated once you're dealing with software and how everything interacts, and then obviously also testing, right? So. The challenge, and that's true for any software, is just making sure if it works on your computer, great, but will it work with the 1,000 other different configurations that are out there, right?
Fair.
Have you ever had to delay a launch, and what went into making that decision, if you did?
Yeah, so it depends on what kind of launch you're doing. Like if you're doing Kickstarters, like pretty much when you say, hey, this is the go time of the Kickstarter, you're live, that's your go-to. You don't have that choice. With the printer, I think we've kept pushing it back just to as we've kept iterating. But for the purpose of the printer, we wanted to just make sure that it's a quality product right out of the gate. So I think in that respect, like it's not necessarily delayed. It's just more, it's launched when it's ready.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my perspective on the printer. Have I delayed other launches? Yeah, it just depends on what comes up and what. Just like entrepreneurship, there's ups and downs, and things will kind of like come your way.
So I want to talk a little bit about the testing process, right? So once you've got your thing released, it's going out there. Like, how do you start testing this to make sure that it's actually solving the problems that your customers are experiencing?
Shout out to Tavis, big time. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point. So we had some, we were getting samples all throughout. Tavis did a great job of doing a lot of the testing, speaking to customers as well too, just making sure, which label sizes should we launch with and which label types and that sort of thing. So obviously that plays a big role into making sure that you're coming out with a product that is super, useful. One of the latest things actually, even without we have the printer, but while we were talking to customers about it, they're also like, oh, I want like a belt clip. Oh, I maybe want a shoulder strap for it. So I just got samples actually today of like the belt clip and shoulder strap. So that's another way that we're developing.
Just like adding onto the list as customers say what they want.
Exactly.
So it's going to have its own line of accessories, just like the scanner.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, very cool. Is it going to be wearable? I mean,
It's the new fashion accessory. Right?
I'm requesting a wearable version that I can
Perfect.
use myself.
I'll hook you up. And also customers we had requests for different label types. So upon launch, we're launching with the most basic, like a 3-inch by 1-inch label. We'll have different sizes of those, but then also maybe even more specialized. So some people wanted like different color labels, maybe weatherproof, that sort of thing. So all of those are kind of in the works and things that we're looking at as well.
Awesome. So, I mean, once you have your product, it's tested, it's ready to go to market, like how do you make sure that you have that successful launch?
Yeah, so it depends on the type of launch too. But for example, with say a Kickstarter, your launch success is really dependent on the runway. And what I mean by the runway is how many interested people do you have before you even have that product launched. So for me, like doing a Kickstarter, I want to make sure I have an email list of like a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 or more people that are willing to back you on day one, so that you can actually not just hit your goal. I mean, Kickstarter is a whole other beast, but basically you want to hit that goal day one so that the rest of it's gravy and you're going to be funded throughout. So how to make sure you have a successful launch. It's really just the preparation of understanding that customers are going to respond to it even before you have the product out the door.
Do you have like an internal checklist like before a product is ready to be shipped?
Mentally, yes. I mean, a lot of it is, I guess, because when you do it so often, you kind of just have all those checks in your mind. But there's things from like making sure the final samples are good to go. A lot of people also do that third-party inspection. So after the production, make sure that they'll either check all of them or they'll check like a randomized bunch. Just to make sure that it's ready to be sold. There's some preparations you'll do with the fulfillment side of things. But yeah, there's a lot of things to juggle, I guess, when you're doing that.
So when it comes to the distribution process, do you have any practical tips or advice on how to navigate that process smoothly?
Yeah, so with distribution, I mean, my general rule of distribution is don't try to do it yourself, right? So always have like a 3PL, so a third-party logistics company that'll take care of that for you. We use a net direct distribution for our products in the US. I'll also use Amazon. So Amazon has FBA for products that are sold on the platform, but they also have a multi-channel fulfillment option too, which you can actually use to ship, say, connected to your Shopify store, or I've even used them to fulfill, for example, a Kickstarter. So they can take care of that too, which is nice. There are some steps before that. So for example, you always want to make sure you have a UPC barcode from GS1. Turns out inFlow also can offer them to you too. Link down below. And they're official from GS1 US barcodes. That's actually a really big, I don't know if we've talked about this before, but it's a really big mistake that I think some other sellers get involved with. Because you can buy like UPC barcodes from other products, from eBay, for example. You don't want to do that now. They're getting smarter. So what you'll find is if you try to use some of those UPC codes that aren't registered to your business, Amazon could block them. It could cause a lot of grief in the future. So definitely get an official GS1 barcode. And obviously that barcode is important for the logistics company to receive the product, for Amazon to receive the product, and or if you want it to go into retail eventually, you'll need that as well.
So after the product is launched, how do you measure success?
Yeah, that's a good question as well too. So I mean, it depends on what you were trying to achieve. So on Kickstarter, my definition of success is, did I hit my funding goal on day one? So not hitting the goal in 30 days, which is the typical time
right
period.
away, day one.
Yeah, you want it day one, and strategically want it day one, because then throughout the campaign, your conversion rate is that much higher because people see that it's funded and they know they're going to get the product. Versus if someone lands on your campaign in day 20 and they don't know if it's going to be funded or not, they're less likely to convert, less likely to actually buy. If I'm doing like a launch of a new product to my existing customer group, I want to be able to pre-sell basically half of my first order. So in my mind, it's like if I can basically sell at least half of my first order, which usually covers the first order anyway. then in my mind it's a success. But I think to each individual seller, it's just I mean, there's some products where you launch it and it's crickets, and something happens and it takes off, right? And there's some that will really go out of their way to get the sales. There's a whole list of ways of doing things to get sales. Sometimes artificially, sometimes just with your email list. But they want to hit the ground running and just get the lowest BSR on Amazon, so the bestseller rank, as quick as possible. Because then then more people will see it if it's ranking and you get a lot of traction with it.
Okay, fair enough. I expected you to just say, how many bags of cash did you fill up?
Exactly.
So we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit kind of about more external things that might impact product launches and product distribution and whatnot. And that, of course, is the elephant in the room, the U.S. tariffs that have been all the buzz. So how can you kind of speak to that? How does that impacted kind of working with manufacturers?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the manufacturers are hurting big time from that as well too. Most sellers are just pausing, right? So they're just kind of they want to play, wait and see what happens. And as of recent, there is that 90-day lower rate that has been announced, which is great. But how long is that going to last? Who knows? At the end of the day, though, it's like with entrepreneurship, you got to roll with the punches. So, I mean, COVID was a big thing as well that decimated a lot of businesses. But you know what? Some other businesses took it as an opportunity to pivot and actually, do something different. So I think it's the same instance now where there's some businesses that'll actually double down and just figure out a way to, maybe it means some of the competitors drop out. Perfect. That means I can grab now is a great time to grab market share. Just for example, with COVID, so my products were all in the travel space. So during an international travel ban, nobody's buying the travel products, right?
Right.
And at first I'm like, this is not good. And it was one of the first times I've seen zero on the sales, right? It was just like, wow.
How popular was the door opening product then?
Yeah, so with that one, so that's where I pivoted, right? And I reached out to my existing customer base. I'm like, hey, we're doing this door thing. I put it on Kickstarter, and it did about $100,000 in 30 days. Which is pretty cool. Then I did launch it on Amazon as well too, but then and it started selling well on Amazon. But again, you got to roll with the punches. Amazon considered it a pesticide because it was blocking bacteria, viruses, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a whole other regulatory.
Yeah, you thought pharmaceuticals was bad. Apparently
I got back into pharmaceuticals somehow, right, with a door opener tool. So, I mean, obviously you have to be careful with claims and that sort of thing. And for that particular product, I should have been okay with it, but long story short, it got removed from Amazon. But I knew it was a temporary product anyway. Nobody's using it now, type thing.
Right.
But that was just a way to pivot. And maybe it means there are some companies that are going to look at other countries for manufacturing and make other decisions that actually can hopefully grow their market share. So with any struggle, with anything that comes up, there's always opportunity with that as well.
That's a good way to look at it. All right, so we're almost at the end now. So to wrap it up, what's one thing that you wish you knew before you launched your first hardware product?
The secret to launching any product is runway. Yeah. So just make sure that, so what I mean by runway is, way before the launch is, making sure that you have not just people that are excited for the product, but the right people. So, there are tons of products out there now, right? And what a lot of successful sellers are doing is just hyper specializing in specific niches. So, for example, when I think about my luggage line, is it luggage and travel gear for everyone, or is it for a specific niche, right? And I'm trying to and that's where I'm trying to steer that as well too. So just make sure that you understand the demographic of the person that you're trying to sell to. I mean, this is marketing 101, but what I've also found is common sense is not common, right? A lot of people just want to be everything to everyone, and it doesn't typically work, especially these days in a super competitive marketplace like Amazon, or just in product development, because it's so easy to make products these days. So I think if you have the person in mind, and you figure out how to get them excited, get them interested. Typically, that's using email marketing, putting them on an email list, that sort of thing, giving them a reason to be on that email list, and then when you go to launch, then you know for sure it's going to be a success.
Matt, this is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm sorry it took us, 14 episodes to get you on, but
I'm not counting. Oh, I was a little bit.
but we did it. We did it.
Yes.
You're here, and thank you for sharing all that awesome information. I'm sure our audience is going to be getting a ton from it.
Super helpful. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, and happy to do it again.
If you guys are interested in checking out our smart scanner, the accessories, or our brand new portable printer, make sure to check out inflowshop.com. All the links will be in the description box down below.
And do all the things that you do with podcasts, right? Make sure you like, subscribe, smash that other button, and do your thing.
Thanks so much.
I've just always wanted to say that.
You took my line, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry, Jared. I apologize.
Hey, you're the guest. You get that one. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we will see you all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.